Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarane Om Apavitra Pavitro Va Sarva Avasthang Gato Piva Yat Smaret Pundarik Akshang Sabhaya Abhyantara Shuchi Sri Vishnu Sri Vishnu Sri Vishnu Om Jnana Timrandasya Jnana Anjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitan Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalang Panggung Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatamahang Vande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Yat Kripatamahang Vande Parama Ananda Madhavam Trinadapi Sunichena Tarar Iva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Hare Nama Hare Nama Hare Nama Iva Kevalam Kalo Nastyeva 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 Gatir Anyata Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namamishwarang Sachid Ananda Rupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Rajamanam Yashoda Biolukaladhavamanam Paramrishtam Atyantato Drutya Gopya. So, first I'm singing this Damodara-ashtakam prayer, verse by verse. And I am giving you my own personal translations of these shlokas. So I've translated the first verse. I bow down to the Supreme Controller, whose form is composed of eternity, knowledge, and bliss, whose earrings play and swing, and who is splendorously manifest in Gokula, but who is in fear of his mother, Yashoda Devi. And so he gets down from the wooden rice-grinding mortar and runs away. However, that Gopi, Sri Yashoda, very much quickly chasing after him, finally catches him from the back. So according to Sanatan Goswami, the disciple of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who also wrote an extensive commentary on this song, this first of the 8 shlokas is called the Mula Shloka. So everything stems from this first verse. So it was not directly stated, but it was indirectly stated that this Damodara-ashtakam prayer is simply talking about Krishna, who is the Supreme Controller, whose body is Satchit Ananda. And we see here in this song that we are given specific descriptions of God. This is one of the things that attracts me very much to this Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. And that is, you get detailed information about God. Nowhere else in all the different religions do you have such a volume of details about what God looks like. So for me personally, this is another big reason why I stick to this philosophy. This pastime of Damodar takes place in Gokula. And this pastime is chiefly about Krishna and his mother Yashoda. Let us go on. Udantang muhur netra yugmam rajantang Karamboja yugmena satanka netram Muhushvasa kampa Trirekanka kanta Stita graibang damodarang bhakti badham. So in the second verse it is described, crying again and again with very fearful eyes, rubbing those two eyes with his two lotus-like hands again and again. He is quickly breathing, sighing, and also trembling, while the pearl necklaces and other ornaments, which are situated on his neck, also slightly move, and that neck is marked with 3 lines, just like a conch shell. And so I offer humble obeisances unto Lord Damodara, who has a rope tied around his belly, but actually he is bound only by devotion. So this name, Damodar, we learn from the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that Nam Akari Bahuda Nijasarava Shakti, that God has unlimited names. That's why one of his names is Ananta. And that Ananta name will appear later in verse number 6. So everything about Krishna is unlimited, including his name. So these names of God signify his position as God, his qualities, his pastimes, and even more important, his relationships with his devotees. So Damodara, this pastime, God is bound up by ropes around the belly. But notice the author of this song says, but actually he is bound only by devotion, because the English word rope is in Sanskrit known as guna. But this word guna has other meanings, and all of them are appropriate. So guna can also mean the 3 modes of nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. They tie up the conditioned soul. You and I, because we are conditioned souls, the reason why we are conditioned is that we are tied up by a combination of goodness, passion, and ignorance. For even the Brahmana, the ideal Brahmana, who was supposed to be the emblem of the mode of goodness, he is also tied up. So just being a Brahmana doesn't make you liberated. You have to transcend even the mode of goodness in order to achieve permanent liberation, moksha. So Krishna cannot be tied up by any rope or any modes of nature. To think that when God comes down as an avatar and that he is somehow affected by these modes of nature, if someone thinks that like that, the Gaudiya Vaishnava Shastras say such a person is a Pashandi, or an atheist. We have to accept the fact that even when God comes to this material world, he is always nirguna. No modes can tie him up. he is never affected by the material energy. Nirguna means he is always transcendental, even when he comes down. Even if he appears in this form as Damodar. At this time, when Krishna performed this pastime, he was 3 or 4 years old. And we recall that when Krishna was 1 month old, he killed the Putana witch. So if Krishna was not the supreme controller, how could a 1 month old baby kill a demoness, Putana? No. Even though he appears like a baby, he's still Ananta, he's still God. He has all the potency. The form does not limit him. He is Ananta, unlimited. So the author of this song is saying, don't think that Yashoda tied up Krishna with ropes. No. Because the pastime is described in the 10th canto of Bhagavatam. That Yashoda tried so many times to tie him up with the household rope, but it was always 2 fingers too short. And she got all the rope in the house, and it was still 2 fingers too short. So Krishna was showing her, the residents of Gokula, and everyone, that no rope can tie me. You can get all the ropes in the universe. Unless I agree, you cannot tie me up. So according to the way the pastime is described by Shukadeva Goswami, Krishna, when he saw his mother become totally flustered, totally flabbergasted, that no matter how many times she tried to tie him up, it was still 2 fingers too short. When she practically gave up, then Krishna smiled and allowed himself to be tied up. But what's he being tied up? Pure loving devotion. So Mother Yashoda, she has that prema bhakti, ecstatic love of Krishna. Yashoda does not think of her son as God. For Yashoda, God is Om Namo Bhagavate Narayanaya. For Yashoda and the residents of Vrindavan, God is Lord Narayan. Krishna is just either their family member or village. But what makes Vrindavan so special is that regardless, everyone simply loves Krishna. That is Vrindavan. Vrindavan is that place where everyone and everything simply loves Krishna, not caring whether he's God or not. No. They have that spontaneous love for God. So, the only thing that can attract Krishna, because the name Krishna means all attractive. He already has everything. He has all the opulences unlimitedly. He is the Godhead. So what's the only thing that could possibly interest God or Krishna? It's my loving devotion. Iti dwiksvalila bhir ananda kunde swagoshang imajjantam akyapayantam tadi eshita gishu bhaktarjitatvang punak prematastang shatavritti bande. Displaying his childhood pastimes, such as this Damodara Leela and others. In this way, immersing his own family and all the other residents of Gokula in a pool of bliss by such pastimes. And to those desirous of knowing his majesty, Damodar makes it known his quality of being conquered only by his loving devotees who are devoid of such Aishvarya Jnana. And so again, with love and devotion, hundreds and hundreds of times, I praise that Lord Damodar. So this is the continuation of what I was speaking about in verse number 2. So, Krishna has so many childhood pastimes, and a glimpse of these pastimes are described in the Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto by Shukadeva Goswami. We just recently celebrated Govardhan Leela. Krishna performed that pastime when he was 7 years old, lifting the Govardhan hill with one hand, holding it up with his little pinky. And there are so many other pastimes. Indeed, I already mentioned that at the age of 1 month, the Putana witch came to kill Krishna. So right from the very beginning, Krishna was killing demons. And he was also sporting with his cowherder boyfriends and doing so many nice things for his parents. So this Damodar Leela is special, but there are so many others, as it says here, immersing his own family and all the residents of Gokula in a pool of bliss. Sometimes on a hot summer day, we go to the beach, or if we're wealthy, we have a backyard pool, and we dive into the pool and we feel refreshed because it's so hot. So the residents of Vrindavan are also in a pool, but their pool is bliss. Now, this picks up from what I said in the previous verse, that Krishna himself, the original Krishna, you cannot conquer him if you simply understand him as the Almighty God. As it says here, Aishvarya Gyan, knowledge of God's position, simply knowledge of God's opulences. No, you have to come to the stage of spontaneous love. Spontaneous love means nobody has to instruct you, nobody has to push you. You naturally want to love and serve Krishna. Just like when a young boy and a young girl become attracted to each other, nobody has to tell them. The attraction is there. Or those of you who know me personally, you know how much I love certain items of prasad. So nobody has to tell me. If I smell a samosa, then nobody has to tell me. No. As soon as I smell or see, immediately I'm attracted. So the same way, when you come to this spontaneous platform, you don't need anyone to guide you, or you are automatically, spontaneously attracted and in love with Krishna. Varang deva moksham na mokshadadhingva nachanyang vrinehang vareshad apiha idang deva purnata gopala balang sadame manasya virastam kim anyay. O Lord, I do not pray for the boon of moksha, either as in personal liberation, or even the highest pinnacle of liberation, entering the realm of Sri Vaikuntha Loka. And nor do I want anything else from you. Yes, I know you can bestow any boon. O Lord, may this divine bodily form of yours as a young cowherder boy here in Vrindavan May that ever be manifest in my heart. For what is the use of other things? So this fourth verse is very, very instructive. It reveals how elevated, how advanced the author of this song is. Notice, he says, I do not pray for moksha. Now, in all the religions of the world, including Hinduism, moksha is considered the ultimate goal. Regardless of the religion, whether it be Christian, Muslim, Jew, Buddhist, all religions have moksha or liberation as the highest goal. But look, the author of this song is saying, I don't want moksha. Now he points out there are two kinds of moksha. Impersonal liberation means you give up your individuality and you become one with God. Or then he says the highest pinnacle of liberation, entering Vaikuntha, the spiritual sky, where there is Vaikuntha, no anxiety. Where we live, America, is full of anxiety. I'm sure there in India, or if you're in Santiago, you understand every day you're anxious, because that's the nature of the material world. Kunta, the material realm is known as Kunta Loka. You can go to the topmost planet in the material world, down to the lowest. They all have various degrees of anxiety. But the spiritual sky, or the spiritual world, is Vaikuntha, no anxiety. But he doesn't even want that. And then he says, I don't want anything from you. And the author of this song says, I know, Krishna, you can give any boon. I don't want it. What does he want? He just wants this form of Bala Gopal, childhood Krishna, Bala Gopal, the cowherder boy in Vrindavan. He wants this form of Damodar to ever be manifest in his heart. This is what he wants. This is called pure desire. He just wants that I always have this vision of you as Damodar, as a little cowherder boy. He says, anything else, it has no use to me. So this author of this song is highly elevated in love of God. Idang te mukam bojam atyanta nilayar Vritang kuntalai snigda raktaishcha gopya Muhushchumbitam bimba raktadarang me Manasya virastam alam laksha labhai. O Lord, your lotus-like face, surrounded by curling locks of hair, which are very dark blue, soft and glossy, and tinted reddish, is kissed again and again by the Gopi Sri Yashoda. And your lips are as cherry red as is the bimba fruit. And so, in my heart, may all of this be manifest, because there is no need for me to request the attainment of millions of other boons, which are simply useless. So this also has connection with the previous verse. But again, notice how we are getting specific details of what the Supreme Lord Godhead looks like. So he has a lotus-like face. In some religions, especially the religion where I grew up in, God is pictured as an old man with a beard. And I never found that to be attractive. But when I was introduced to Krishna consciousness, then I understood, no, God is Navayovanam, eternally youthful. He never looks older than 16 years old. And notice, curling locks of hair. This is detailed. And then we get even more detailed. Those hairs are dark blue, soft, and glossy. That's why one of Krishna's names is Keshava. The name Keshava has 3 meanings. So one of those means that Krishna has very, very soft, fine hair. Then, at the same time, there is a reddish tint. So our God, our Krishna, He's special. Now, this verse also shows how elevated Yashoda Devi is, because she gets to kiss Krishna as her little child. That is described in 10th canto by Shukadeva Goswami. He points out that the position of Yashoda, as exemplified here, she gets to kiss her little child. All mothers kiss their child. That's natural. So Mother Yashoda is relating to Krishna like he's a human child. So naturally she's going to kiss her child. That's natural. But Shukadeva Goswami points out that Yashoda's position, as in this case kissing or breastfeeding or chastising, this means that Yashoda has vimukti. Yes, she has a mukti. She has a liberation, but it's vimukti. And Shukadeva makes the very amazing statement in the 10th canto that Yashoda's mukti is greater than Lord Shiva's, greater than the goddess of fortune, greater than anyone. She has that vimukti, special, that she gets to relate to Krishna as her own child. Now we learn from the teachings of Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya that nobody can replace Yashoda. No applications are being accepted. As in the case of the demigods, yes, you can become Lord Brahma. You can become Lord Indra. You can become Surya, Chandra. You can become any one of the demigods except Lord Shiva. No, you cannot become Lord Shiva. But even though Mother Yashoda cannot be replaced, by following the footprints of Yashoda, by meditating on this pastime and developing spontaneous love for Krishna, we can experience similar emotions as Yashoda. Yes, that we are entitled to. We can experience the same kinds of feelings to a lesser degree, but we can experience that if we follow Yashoda. Now, more detailed information. Krishna's lips are cherry red. So again, he repeats it. This is what I want. I want this vision. Always manifest to me. And he says, if I wanted millions of other boons, they're all useless. So again, in 2 verses, the author is showing how elevated is his consciousness. Let's go to the next verse. Namo Deva Damodara-ashtakam Vishnu prasida prabodhuka jalabdi magnam. Kripadrishti vrishyati dinang batanu. Grihanesha mam agyam edyakshi drishyaha. Be pleased, Deva, O Divine Lord. Be pleased, Damodara, O you whose belly is tied with a rope. Be pleased, Ananta, O limitless Lord. Be pleased, Vishnu, O all-pervading Lord. Be pleased, Prabhu, my Master. I bow down to you. But alas, I am immersed in a network of miseries while in this material ocean of repeated birth and death. So please accept me and rain down your merciful glance upon this very fallen and ignorant fool. O supremely independent Lord, please become perceptible to my eyes. So this 6th verse demonstrates Sankirtan, or glorification of some of the names of Krishna. So he says Deva, Divine Lord. Damodar, again, tied around the belly with a rope. Ananta, limitless Lord. Vishnu, all-pervading. Yes, there are 2 names of Krishna, which means he's all-pervading. So Vishnu is one, and the other is Vasudeva. And there might be others, but those 2 I know. And then Prabhu, my Master. So notice what he does. He bows down. This is exactly what Krishna instructs twice in Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 18 and in chapter 9, towards the end of 18 and the very last verse of chapter 9 of Gita, Krishna says, Namaskuru. So some people say, oh, that means you just bow your head or you just offer prayers. But the real meaning of Namaskuru, bow down, go on the ground, prostrate yourself. That means full surrender. Yes, my Lord, you are my Master, and I am your servant. Now, the next part of this verse shows how the author of this song is a bona fide devotee. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his 3rd Shikshastaka verse, points out what is the constant mentality of a devotee. Anyone can say, oh, I am a devotee. That's okay. But how do you prove that you're a devotee? Here is the mentality. Notice how he presents himself meek and humble. That is the sign of a real devotee. Meekness and humbleness. Jesus Christ also said that that is the sign of a good person, their meekness and humility. So he points out, I am in a network of miseries, and I'm in the ocean of repeated birth and death. In ISKCON, every morning they begin their chanting, Sangsara dava nanalida loka. Sangsara, repeated birth and death. And in the song, my favorite bhajan, Bhaja hure mana Sri Nandanandana Abhaya Charanara Vindare Durlabhamanava Janama Satsange Taraha Ev Bhava Sindhure. Bhava Sindhure. The ocean, Sindhu, of repeated birth and death. That is our situation. So now he makes a request of Damodar. Accept me, meaning accept me as your devotee. When somebody surrenders to the spiritual master, because that is how you show your surrender to God. You show your surrender to God by surrendering to a spiritual master, God's representative. And you beg for acceptance. Not that I think, oh, I am so qualified. My spiritual master will be glad to have me as a disciple. Bogus. You have to present yourself to the spiritual master, just like this devotee. I am fallen. I am in the ocean of birth and death. Please accept me. That is the attitude the disciple must have for the spiritual master. Otherwise, any other understanding is ludicrous. No, this is the attitude. Before my spiritual master, I'm a fool. Lord Chaitanya also presented himself as a fool. Lord Chaitanya is God, Krishna himself. But in front of his spiritual master called him a fool, and Lord Chaitanya did not protest. Even though Lord Chaitanya was born in a first-class Brahmana family, in his youth, Lord Chaitanya was known as Nimai Pandit. He was teaching hundreds of students. But before his spiritual master, when his spiritual master called him Murka, fool, he accepted it. That's the attitude of the disciple. If the disciple does not have that attitude, he's not a disciple. There must be this humility before the spiritual master. Otherwise, no spiritual advancement. It's all ludicrous. So he's asking Krishna, rain down your merciful glance upon this very fallen and ignorant fool. O supremely independent Lord. Yes, the very first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Very first verse. Swarat. Vyasadeva in the first verse of Bhagavatam points out the position of Vasudeva, Krishna. Abhigya Swarat. All-knowing and completely independent. We are not independent. We are dependent on so many things. This whole Zoom class is dependent on technology. If the technology fails, that's the end of this class. We are dependent on so many things in this material world. But Krishna is Swarat, completely independent. And then again, please. This word is so important. Please. This is called begging. This is the attitude of the devotee with his Lord and with the spiritual master. Please. There can be no demands. Please, please, please. Let's go to verse number 7. Kuveratmajo Badha Murtyaiva Yadvad Tvayamochitao Bhakti Bhajal Kritao Cha Tata Prema Bhakting Swakang Me Prayachcha Namokshe Grahomesti Damodareha. So this song is linking to Krishna pastimes. So when Krishna agreed to be bound up, Mother Yashoda at first wanted to use a stick, but then she threw the stick away thinking that that was too much punishment. So instead, Yashoda said, this child is so restless that I cannot get any housework done. Just see, even the mother of God has to do housework. So none of us should complain oh, I have to do this, I have to. No. Even the Mother of God has to work. So that's one point. So she said, this child is so restless. Let me, for the time being, tie him up. Because he's so restless, I don't know. He may leave, he may do so many other things. And I have work to do. So after Krishna was tied up to the ulukala, the wooden rice grinding mortar, Krishna looked out into the courtyard and saw two tall Arjuna trees. And of course, as I mentioned in the beginning, even though Krishna is only 3 or 4 years old, he's still God. He's still Abhigya, or all-knowing. He's still Swarat, independent. So Krishna says, oh yes, I know about these two trees. These two trees are actually the sons of my servant Kubera, the treasurer of the demigods. And the two sons of Kubera, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, were cursed by my great devotee Narada Muni. Nalakuvara and Manigriva had become offensive in the Nandanakanana gardens in the heavenly planets. They committed the sin of intoxication and indecency. So Narada wanted to rectify them. So Narada, when he saw them in this degraded condition, Narada cursed them. Oh, you want to be naked? Then you should become trees and be naked for hundreds of years. But Narada's curse was also a blessing. For Narada wanted these two to be delivered by Krishna. So Narada cursed them to become these two trees. But where? In the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda's house. And Narada's intention was that Krishna himself would deliver. So Krishna, being Abhigya, all-knowing, Krishna decided to deliver them. So he's tied to the wooden grinding mortar, and so he starts to crawl, and the large wooden grinding mortar gets stuck in between the two trees, and effortlessly, as Krishna passes through the two trees come tumbling down, being struck by the grinding mortar. And when the trees crash, the two demigod sons, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, they come out, and all the while they were as trees for hundreds of years. They were like that. They were simply meditating on their sin and on Krishna. So by the time Krishna delivered them, they were in rectified consciousness, and they offered beautiful prayers. So the author of this song includes this pastime because it connects. While the two sons of Kubera, named Nalakuvara and Manigriva, were delivered by you, whose divine form was bound with ropes to the grinding mortar, since they were cursed by Narada, your devotee, and they had to take birth as twin Arjuna trees, but they were liberated by you, and you also made them the recipients of devotional service. Remember, devotional service is the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. If you have properly understood Bhagavad Gita, you cannot come away with any other proper conclusion other than bhakti, devotional service. 3 times in Gita, in chapter 8, at the end of chapter 11, and in chapter 18. 3 times Krishna says, you want to actually see me? Bhakti. You want to actually know me as I am? Bhakti. You actually want to come back to me, back to Godhead. Bhakti, bhakti, bhakti. Not karma, not jnana, no other yoga other than bhakti. O Lord Damodara, please give unto me your own loving devotion, for I do not have any enthusiasm for liberation. Again, he's repeating this concept which was explained in verse numbers 3 and 4. He doesn't want salvation or liberation. He wants what? Loving devotion. He wants bhakti. Just as the two sons of Kuvera were also granted, because that was their prayer. Nalakubra and Manigriva, when they actually saw Krishna, they also begged Krishna, please give us this spontaneous loving devotion. The author, in his humility, is also praying, my Lord, please give me your loving devotion. All right, final verse. Namaste Sudamne Spuradipti Dhamne Tvadiyo Durayata Vishvasya Damne Namo Radhikayai Tvadiya Priyayai Namo Nantalilaya Devaya Tubhyam Jaya Radha Damodar Radha Damodar Radhe. So now the Ashtak finishes. Obeisances unto you, Damodar. Obeisances unto the rope around your waist. Obeisances unto your splendorously effulgent abode. Obeisances unto your splendorous belly, which is the shelter of the entire universe. Obeisances unto Sri Radhika, your most beloved. Obeisances unto your limitless sportive pastimes. Obeisances unto your transcendental nature. Obeisances unto you. So here, this 8th verse is a verse of ecstasy. By this time, the author has become transcendentally mad. He's even offering obeisances to the rope. Who does that? Normal people will think, oh, this is a crazy person. Yes, he's crazy. He's transcendentally crazy. He's in ecstasy. He's realizing how fortunate that rope is to be tied around this Supreme Lord, this all-attractive Damodar. And Krishna's abode, either Goloka or Gokula on earth, or Goloka Vrindavan in the spiritual sky, these are effulgent. We learn from the Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter. Na tat pasayate suryo na shashanko na pavaka yat gyatva na nivartante dadama paramang mama. Krishna says, my abode, there is no need of sun, moon, or electricity. No need. That's the key. Yes, they're self-effulgent. Obeisances unto your splendorous belly, because the author knows the conclusion, the Siddhanta of the Bhagavatam, that in the material realm there are 3 Purusha avatars, Mahavishnu, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, and Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, and how Lord Brahma was manifested from Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. Therefore, Lord Brahma is the Son of God. Yes, he's directly the son of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. And Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, he was able to produce Brahma without the help of Lakshmi. No, he could do it himself by generating a lotus stem, and on top of that stem, Brahma is born. And the shelter of the universe, because all the 14 planetary systems are within that stem, and then when they are generated, then they come out. And now he throws in this very special line, Namo Radhikayai Tvadiya Priyayai. Priya. Yes, all living entities are dear to Krishna. We're all, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mamai Bangso Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatanaha. All of us are God's children, but still some of us are more dear, such as Krishna says in the end of Bhagavad Gita, that anyone who preaches the message of Gita, there is no servant more dear to me. So yes, there are different levels of dearness to God. But here, your most beloved, yes, that is Radharani, the most beloved. And again, that position cannot be usurped. None of us, no one, will ever be able to replace Srimati Radhika. That very name, Radha, she gets that name. It is detected the night of the Rasa dance, when Krishna left all the gopis in the midst of the Rasa dance, because the gopis had become a little proud. Krishna went deep into the forest, being led by Radharani. She wanted special treatment. At that time, all the other gopis said, that gopi who Krishna left with must have worshipped Krishna better than us. Therefore, Radha. The meaning of Radha, the one who worships Krishna the best. So the author understands this high philosophical point, and he's bowing down. Just like in the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna. First we offer obeisances to Mother Hara, either as Radharani or Sita or Lakshmi, all the transcendental goddesses, the transcendental, Lakshmi, the gopis, the queens of Dwaraka, okay, they are Krishna's beloveds, but Radharani is topmost. And he's also offering obeisances to Krishna's limitless sportive pastimes. Yes, that is what is meant by Leela. This question is asked, what is Leela? Here it is, sportive pastimes. Krishna is playing like an ordinary human being. Playing. It's a drama. But these pastimes are sportive. He's enjoying everything. When Krishna is killing Putana, killing Kamsa, or on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Krishna is enjoying. Even if Krishna is feeling separation from Radharani, still he's enjoying. And then obeisances to Krishna's transcendental nature. Yes, Krishna's transcendental nature. Sat, eternal. Chit, full of knowledge, no ignorance. Ananda, ever increasing happiness and bliss. And finally, obeisances unto Krishna. So I'm going to end this class by singing the Nisringa prayers, which I call the prayers of spiritual insurance. I'm sure you all have insurance policies, either for your home or for your business. Yes, Tejal, I see you shaking your head, therefore you get a ding. Yes. So I like to end my programs with a benediction prayer. Now, I want you all to pay very close attention now. After I sing this prayer of benediction, I'm going to give a final blessing. Then I'm going to sign out, and if you have any questions, you direct your questions to my best disciple, Sri Nam Radha Devi Dasi, because she actually knows better than me. Yes, I said it. Yeah, she's shaking her head, but I know what I know. So any questions you have after I sign off, you please address them to her. Okay? So let's do the prayers to Nisringa. Let's speed it up. Namaste Narasimhaya Prahlada Klada Dayane Hiranya Kashipur Vakshaha Shilatankana Kalaye Ito Nrsinga Parato Nrsingo Yato Yato Yamitato Nrsinga Bahir Nrsinga Ridaye Nrsingo Nrsingham Ading Sharanam Prapadye Nrsingham Ading Sharanam Prapadye Nrsingham Ading Sharanam Prapadye Ha! Tavakara Kamala Vare Nakam Adbhuta Sringam Dalita Hiranya Kashipu Tanu Bringam Keshavadrita Narahadi Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Keshavadrita Narahadi Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadish Jaya Jagadish Jaya Jagadisha Hare Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Om Tat Sat. Okay? So my blessing, those of you who know me, whenever I do a speaking engagement, I bless everyone. First of all, I want to thank you all for attending this class, tolerating my boisterous vituperation. I am proud, I am arrogant, I am a fool, I am a rascal, but you're all very merciful that you stayed. So thank you very much. And as we finish out this month of Damodar, may Lord Damodar bless you, protect you, maintain you, and may all your good desires be fulfilled. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One more thing. If I've committed any offense, if I have upset any of you, I beg forgiveness. And so I offer this prayer. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanang pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Adios. Hare Krishna. Jai Ho.